Hello, everyone. So, as we are in the process of moving back towards some semblance of normalcy and allowing students to move on a limited basis during advisory, I thought it might be a good opportunity for me to just touch bases with you all and just review the advisory site with you as we move into this period where we're going to start to use it on a more regular basis, especially for our new faculty members, because this will be a new experience for you. Now, over the summer, I tried to slim it up and make it lean and mean, and more importantly, faster than how it was before. At some points last year, I know it kind of slowed down. So hopefully it'll be a lot faster. Hopefully I address those problems, but we'll see. This will be kind of trial by fire. All right, so real quick. So this is the advisory site. The address is kalaniadvisory.org, all one word. Now, if you haven't logged into the site before, your username is your DOE K-12 email address. But the important thing to remember is it's not the number. For me, for example, it's not 10008575 at K12HIUS. It's actually your first name dot last name. So for me, it'd be michael.ida at K12.hi.us. And then your default password is your first name and your last name all together, no spaces, and lowercase. So it'd be Michael Ida for me, all one word, all lowercase. Now, if you have logged in and you forgot your password, the way to recover it is in the upper right-hand corner of the landing page right here is a password recovery. So if you click on this tab right here, that'll take you through the process of resetting your password. I cannot unscramble your password for you as kind of best practices for security. Those passwords, when they're stored, are encrypted with an algorithm that I cannot reverse. So I cannot actually get your password for you. You would have to go through the password reset here. Okay, so let's go ahead and log in. So I'm going to log in with my credentials. So my username is michael.ida at k12.hi.us. And I've already changed my password. So your default password again is your first name and your last name, all one word, all together, no spaces, all lowercase. Okay, now the first time you log in, once you submit your credentials, you're going to get a pop-up that's going to prompt you to change your password for security's sake, of course. But I've already done mine, so here we are. Okay, so the main function of the advisory site for most of you, I think, is going to be just requesting and sending kids during advisory. I tried to make it as useful as possible, though. So if you do want to check on posted grades, so when Neil asks us to post grades, he sends me a export from Infinite Campus, and I do post those up here. So those are available if you're interested, if that would be something useful for you. Okay, but the main function, though, for most people, again, is going to be advisory. Okay, so at the very top of the screen, the dashboard here, are 3 sections that deal with advisory. So the top section here, that's labeled as incoming students. So these are kids who you have requested to come into your advisory on a given advisory day. The next section is the outgoing students. So those are kids that other teachers have requested, and you are going to send them to their advisory during an advisory period. And this third section here is if you're interested, if you want to see all the advisory requests for any given day across the school, you can see that information here. It's normally compacted, but you can expand it, and you can see the list of, you can see, for example, on February 22nd, there's a bunch of kids already requested. Okay, now let's go back up here. Okay, so when you have kids that either you have requested in this top section here, or that have been requested from you, there's some information. As you can see, there's the student's name. There's, in the case of kids who you have requested, the teacher and the room where they're coming from, and then if there's any comments and when the request was created. And then on the outgoing side, so kids who have been requested from you, you can see the student's name, you can see where they're going, so the teacher who requested them and the room, and when the request was made, and any comments. It's helpful to put comments if you can. I do look at them. I know some people look at them, and it's helpful to know, especially if the kid doesn't show up. So if you send them and they don't show up, or if you request them and they don't show up, it's good to have that information available so that you can follow up on that. You can also change the date to look at different dates. So if you click on that date, then this pop-up comes up. I tried to put in all the scheduled advisory dates. So those are kind of the darker, the bolder numbers. The ones that are not advisory, you can't select those dates because obviously there's no movement on those dates. Okay, but we'll just stick with the 22nd. Now, if you want to, once you submit a request, so if you request a student, you want to change the request. So you want to either delete it or maybe move it to another day or put a comment on it. All you need to do is just check this box right here, and you see that this bar up here turns pink. Now I need to scroll over a little bit to the right. I got to fix this a little bit. This user interface feature a little bit awkward here, but if you scroll over to the right here, you'll see that there's 3 icons over here on the far right of this pink section here, right next to the search bar. The first icon is if you want to delete the request. The second icon is if you want to make a comment, so you want to add a comment to it. And then the third icon is if you want to change it to another date. Okay, now for comments, in the case of comments, when you click on it, you get this pop-up here. There are some canned comments. So if you want to choose one that's just a canned comment, I put the ones for GLOs. Remember that we are tracking GLO achievement for advisory. So that would be your self-directed learner. And then I put a few other ones that might be helpful for if they did show up or if they're tardy, if they're especially late. Okay, and as a teacher, you could check that and follow up on that. Okay, so actually, let me put a comment just so you can see how that works. So let's say I choose, okay, he was self-directed the whole time, and I'll just submit that. Okay, so you get a pop-up that verifies that. You get kind of a verification pop-up, and you can see the comment is there. Okay, so same thing on the kids who have been requested from you, the outgoing side. So if you want to, now in this case, you can't really delete the request because somebody else made it, but you can add a comment, which could be helpful as well. So there's some canned comments, or if you want to type your own comment, custom comment, you can also do that. Okay, so that's the incoming and outgoing, and then the search section, you can collapse these also. If you just click on the label, you can collapse them if they're kind of in the way. And the third section, like I said, is if for some reason you want to see a list of all the requests on any given day, you can see that too. Okay, so how do you request a kid? So if you have a student who comes to you, remember that it's supposed to be the kid initiates the request to you. It's not that you kind of unilaterally request a kid. The kid has to come to you and say, I'd like to come into your advisory for some extra help or to do a retake or whatever. So if you want to request a student, I have from Neil's export from Infinite Campus, I have all your class rosters and your classes here. So you just, if you want to request a student from a particular class, you find them in that list. And by the way, I did also, this is where you can find grades. So if you want to see what the posted grades are from Infinite Campus, you can just click on this down arrow icon here on the right, and then that'll expand out the grade table. So this has the grades that were posted on Infinite Campus, as well as some of the previous grades for, especially for math. We kind of like to use those also. Okay, but if you do want to request a student, so you find their, let me close this up. Okay, so you find their name, you just click on the checkbox, you scroll all the way down here, so you can choose what date you want to request them on. The default would be the next upcoming advisory, but if you want to request in advance for other advisories, you can do that. You can request multiple dates at the same time, so if I wanted to request on another date also besides the next one, okay, I can do that. And you can see these chips right here are the dates that you're going to request them from, and you can take them out if you don't want it. Okay, so if I go ahead and submit that request, then I get this verification pop-up, and it should come up in my incoming list. Okay, so there's a second student there. Okay, now if there is a conflict, which there shouldn't be, because remember it's the students who are initiating the request, so they shouldn't request to be called in by 2 different teachers. But if for some reason there is a conflict, when you submit, you'll get a pop-up that says, you can't do that because he's already been requested. Okay, so that's the requesting. Now, I also have this section right here on the right, students at large. So if there is ever a need to request a student that's not in your class, which because advisory is supposed to be for academic purposes only, there really shouldn't be. But if there is a need for that, then we're supposed to get administrative approval first. And if you have that approval, which you can confirm with this pop-up here, then you can select students from the student body at large. So you can, I have a alphabetized list of everybody, but obviously you don't want to scroll through the list. So if you want to find a name, you can just start typing, and those, anybody with that as part of their name will show up. So if you want a Lee, you can scroll through all the Lees and find them. Okay, so you can use this section here if you need to request students who are not in any of your classes. But again, remember that you do need administrative approval, and because advisory is for academic, primarily for academic support, that shouldn't really be a necessary thing for us. Okay, so that's advisory. I did put some other features here if anybody's interested, if you might find this useful. So if you go up to the very top here, this blue bar, if you go on to student information, so if you want to filter kids, search for kids, or filter kids by different criteria, you can do that, and that'll bring up there. You can also look at their grades through that if you want to do that. And if for some reason you want to make a group, so a group would be like a club, for example, if you wanted to monitor all of your officers' grades for a club, say, and you wanted to make them into a group where you could find that really easily, you could do that here. Okay, so I already put the groups I made up here. These are just kind of standard ones. So these are like grade level groups. So the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, and some other groups here. So there's already some here. Okay, but I think for most people, primarily you'll be spending your time on this tab, the advisory tab. So this is where you find out what kids have been either called out or you have called out, and where you can request students. As we start to move into the period where kids are going to start to move around during advisory, you're going to want to make sure you check this site regularly, at least every advisory day in the morning, so you know if kids have been called out to you. If you called out kids, obviously you should know about those. But for kids that have been called out from you, this second section right here, this will be the only way that you'll be notified of that. Nobody's going to send you an email or anything. I know last year I did set up that feature to do that. Because I changed some things over the summer, I'm still working on getting that up to speed. So for the time being, this will be the only way that you'll find out that kids have been requested from you, is to visit the advisory site. So you're going to want to make sure you log in and check on that at least every advisory day, so you'll see that. Okay, and as soon as I'm able, I'll try to get up the email notification, but for the time being, that's still not ready yet. Okay, so this will be the only way that you'll know that kids have been requested from you. Okay, so that's the advisory site. So hopefully we'll see under fire whether the performance is better. And as always, you can send me or you can let me know of any suggestions or things you want to see in it. But hopefully this will be a lot more functional and faster primarily from last year. Okay, so that's the advisory site. So if you have any questions, just email me, stop by, let me know what you think.